Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk, live and direct on a Wednesday. Greetings and salutations. We've got you covered for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Whether you're listening, watching, streaming, scanning the dial, however you're listening to the program today, thanks so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. We're sure glad you're here. My name's Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in a bit. Brendan Warzinski is off today. It is a hump day, and the Royals are remaining one of the hottest teams in the American League, and they've got a chance to creep even closer to a wild card spot by the end of the night because the Mariners have already lost today. They ended up getting drubbed by the Phillies 11-2. A win tonight, and the Royals are a game and a half out of a wild card spot. Does it feel real yet? Does it feel real to even those of you who were maybe out on this team after how miserable June was? And that was an understandable emotion to have because June was really bad, and it did look grim there for a while. But the boys are back playing some ball. The home runs continue to fly out of Kauffman Stadium. Seth Lugo's back, and the Royals score another dub last night, 5-2. The final, Bobby Witt Jr. makes some history, and the Royals go to 7-1 on this 10-game homestand. A homestand where I said 7 wins was what they had to achieve, bare minimum. Well, they're in with a chance at 8 or 9, and again, a win tonight gets them within a game and a half of a wild card spot because Seattle has already lost. Houston, for that matter, has already lost today, too. Cleveland and Arizona are just underway. Cleveland's leading that game early in the second inning, but the Royals moved into second place last night with Cleveland's loss to Arizona. So, the Royals are moving on up. We'll take a look at last night's game, talk about the pivotal moments, and again, ask the question, does it feel real yet? Are you back in? Have they done, what movie is that? Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. That's what's happened with the Kansas City Royals. So we will get to some baseball on today's program. But, of course, plenty of football to discuss. We are in a game week for college football. We've got the final preseason game for the Chiefs coming up on Friday night. So we've got a lot of that to get to on the show today as well. We're going to talk some Chiefs football today. We'll hear from Andy Reid. He spoke to the media today after practice. Andy Reid will tell you who's going to play, or notably who's not going to play in Friday's preseason finale against the Chicago Bears, a 7 o'clock kickoff at Arrowhead Stadium, a game you can hear on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country, on Friday night. And then I want to talk about depth for the Chiefs and go position by position. How good do you feel about the depth of this team? Because I think there's a lot to like, but I also think there are some current red flags with regards to this team's depth. So we'll talk about it. We'll go position by position. We'll order it. Most confident in the depth on the current camp roster to least confident in the depth on the current camp roster, but also broadly the 53-man roster. So we'll get into that. And, of course, one of our guests today will be the great Mitch Holthus. He'll join us for a training camp report presented by Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union at 5:25 today. Rookie week continues on our final week of the training camp reports, and Mitch already spilled the beans yesterday. So a reminder, it'll be Noel Williams who's in the spotlight today on the training camp report. Our other guest today, a college football guest. Now, typically, it's a Wednesday, so we do the Wildcat wrap-up with our guy Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com. They are half a world away presently, and we tried to make something work out, connect to somebody with the GoPowerCat.com crew in Dublin, and it just hasn't worked out this week. That's the bad news. The good news is we're still going to talk K-State in that window, just like we did yesterday with KU. We're going to look at the K-State schedule and talk best case, worst case scenarios. And the thing that if K-State can finally shed this particular bit of skin, is going to be what gets them into the college football playoff potentially in 2025. We'll go game by game through that K-State schedule. And we have a great college football guest for you today in place of Tim Fitzgerald. We're going to talk to our guy, Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS Sports. Shehan covers college football for CBSSports.com, writes a lot about the Big 12, very high on Avery Johnson. We will talk to Shehan coming up at the bottom of this hour, 3:35 or so. Shehan Jeyarajah will join us here on 580 Sports Talk. Plus all your typical Wednesday shenanigans. We got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll do one gotta go, another round of what is wrong with you. And naturally, we would like to hear from you throughout the show today. Hit us up on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the number. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. If you are watching our show on YouTube right now, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. And I guess if you're watching right now, you don't need me to tell you that. But if you're curious, would like to watch the show on YouTube, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, you should go subscribe to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We need 14 more of you to do it so that Brendan Wrzinski and I can have our arm wrestling match live on 580 Sports Talk. We get to 800 subscribers. Brendan and I are going to arm wrestle. I'm on the mend from my bout with muscle stiffness, so I'll be ready to rock and roll by the time we get to 800 subscribers. You and 13 of your friends who have not subscribed yet, you got to be the ones to get us there. Go find us on YouTube, on the app, on the web browser, 580 Sports Talk. Smash that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything but a click. And get us closer to that arm wrestling match. Arm again, if you will. You don't have to. It's not that serious. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you are watching the show on our YouTube channel today, why don't you hop into the live chat? Because it's a great way to interact not just with your hosts as we go along, but also your fellow listeners and grow the 580 Sports Talk community. A special hello to those of you who are already in today, the early birds. Vance is in, first one off the mat today. Andrew, Ryan, hello. Isaac, good to see you. Mark H. and Christopher in as well. Very much appreciate those of you who are already in the chat. Look forward to hearing from more of you as we go along at 580 Sports Talk. And we've had a recent influx of Facebook viewers and commenters as well. So don't be shy if you're watching us on Facebook, WIBW News, to hop in the comments there. We can interact with those, throw them on the screen during the show, and have a good time. Again, however you're listening, however you're watching, just appreciate you choosing us here on 580 Sports Talk. Royals win 5-2 last night, and you could tell early that something was different in a good way for Seth Lugo. Even though he gave up that first inning home run to Corey Seager, umpire put him in a bad spot, missed the call on the 2-1 pitch, should have been a 2-2 count. Matt Quatraro was still not happy about this after the game, for what it was worth. He brought it up, or somebody did in his post-game remarks, that Lugo got hosed a little bit there and should have had Seager in a 2-2. Instead, he had him in a 3-1. First inning, 2 out, nobody on base. He challenged him, and Seager's a 2-time World Series MVP, and he got him, and he hit it over the fence for a 1-0 Rangers lead. But even in that first inning, you could tell Lugo was sharper. Lugo had better command, and Lugo gave the Royals what they desperately needed. Not just a quality start, though it was that. With only 2 runs allowed, another home run later by Jock Peterson, who's looked like a corpse for the entire 2025 season, but looks like prime Jock Peterson in this series every time he's at the plate. But just those 2 runs allowed and only 1 other hit allowed by Lugo in what ended up being 6 1/3 innings of work, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He struck out the last batter he faced, went up over 100 pitches. That's the guy you're paying for. That's the guy you're needing to lean on with the question marks in this pitching rotation. You need that guy to be the rock. And instead, he had been getting rocked. But last night was a return to classic Seth Lugo form. He had hitters off balance. There was not a lot of quality contact. He was back in the strike zone. And again, it wasn't just the quality start that was important. It was the ability to go deep in the game. We talked about this on yesterday's show. The Royals probably were not going to have Lucas Erceg and Carlos Estevez available. You know how I know that? because it was a save situation and Estevez didn't pitch and Urseg didn't pitch. So both of those guys were down if Matt Quatraro could help it. I'm sure there was an emergency scenario. Maybe if they needed a batter or if the game had gone 15 innings for some reason. But look, those guys were down. And so what Lugo needed to do was make sure that the underbelly of the Royals bullpen didn't come into play, that you were going to have to ask Sam Long to get a critical out in the 7th inning of the game, that you could just get it to the two guys who are in really good form right now in the back of that bullpen, Angel Zerpa and John Schreiber, and have them work their way through the final, what ended up being 8 outs. And that's exactly what happened. Zerpa got a big double play in the 8th, and Schreiber, other than a 2-out walk, had a clean 9th to earn his first save of the season. And be honest with me, maybe you felt the same way watching this game, because if you missed the game last night, Royals took the lead in the 7th inning. They load the bases with nobody out, and Rangers reliever Cole Winn comes out of the bullpen and immediately dots Jonathan India. Not on purpose, but boy, Jonathan India gets hit a lot, doesn't he? Some guys, like, I don't even think India is particularly, like, prone to hang out over the plate. Like, he's not, I don't think, looking to get hit. I think there have been guys in Major League history who didn't mind hanging that elbow out, especially with the elbow guards now. But, like, that's not Jonathan India. He's not up there to get hit by a pitch. Some guys get hit by pitches. Some guys just happens to. Like, Mark Canha is a guy like that. Craig Biggio's got the all-time record. He was a guy like that. That's why he wore all that armor, because he knew he was a guy like that. Jonathan India gets hit by the first pitch by the new reliever. It's 3-2. The bases are loaded, and you're thinking, all right, Royals are going to blow it open. And then they don't do that, because John Rave swings through a hanging cutter for strike 3, and Kyle Isbell grounds into a 3-6-3 double play to win the inning. And when Jonah Heim led off the 8th with that single off of Zerpa, with the top of the order coming up, and Zerpa in his 2nd inning effectively of relief, I don't know what you were thinking, but I was thinking as I was watching it, oh boy, this is where they're going to pay for not capitalizing on the big opportunity in the bottom of the 7th. This is where the slagged bullpen is going to come back to bite them, because they need this extra inning out of Zerpa, and they got a bunch of lefties coming up in the order for Texas, so he's going to pitch. And you're asking too much of him in this spot. This is where it's going to go pear-shaped for the Royals. And then Zerpa got a ground ball double play. Ain't no thing. Easy as you like. Gets out of the inning. Maintains the lead. Royals tack on 2. Bobby Witt Jr. crushing one over all 3 walls in center field. And I got to be honest with you. I can't believe how the ball is carrying at Kauffman Stadium during this homestand. I'm hard-pressed to remember a homestand where the ball jumped like it is jumping. There have been balls where off the bat, I did not think they were home runs, and they have been home runs. Like Adam Frazier's home run on Sunday afternoon is a great example. I thought he got under that, and it just kept going. Yastrzemski last night got up under his, but it just kept going. And Bobby Witt Jr.'s looked like a home run off the bat. Did I think it was going to clear all 3 of the fences in center? Usually, when you clear all 3 of the fences in center, like it sounds like a cannon going off when the ball meets the bat. I've seen that happen in person. I saw Jorge Soler do it when he was in his first year with the Royals. We saw Jack Caglione do it against the Pirates back in July. I didn't think that ball was going to go that far until it did go that far. The ball is just jumping at the K, particularly in this homestand. But the Royals have taken advantage. 3 more home runs last night. Pasquantino with his 24th. I mentioned Yaz. And then Bobby Witt Jr. with the 100th home run of his Major League career, the icing on the cake and the insurance that the Royals needed. It is wild watching the ball jump the way that it is at Kauffman Stadium. And it is certainly part of the reason why the Royals have erupted offensively here in the second half. I have the numbers from all games in the second half so far. The Royals have scored the 8th most runs, though they have only scored 2 fewer than Baltimore, who's played 2 more games, and only 3 fewer than Philadelphia, who's played 1 more game. And for that matter, only 3 fewer than Atlanta and 6 fewer than Chicago, who played the White Sox, that is. How about the White Sox? Who've played the same number of games that the Royals have since the All-Star break. But the home run number is what jumps out. The Royals have 46 home runs in 29 games since the All-Star break. That ranks 6th in all of baseball. But to credit the Royals on the other side, they have allowed 29 home runs on the pitching side. And this has been a bit of a skeleton crew pitching staff-wise without some of your best guys or with your best available starting pitcher struggling. And they've still kept their home run per 9 rate to an even 1. That's 4th best in baseball over the same time frame. So it is the Royals following the adage about what happens when the ball goes far. When the ball goes far, your team goes far. And the Royals are 18-11 since that All-Star break. They're within 2 games of the Mariners after the Mariners lost earlier today. And I have to know, from your perspective as a Royals fan, does it feel real yet? Because, look, there was a long time it felt like this team was just treading water. A long time. Even when they got to 7 under 500 early in July, like, I didn't feel like that was, order up the casket, dig in the dirt, and let's have a funeral for the Royals. We talked about back then them having a bit of playoff equity, this core. They'd done it before. They'd put a run together and wasn't going to bury them in July, right? But even as they started to play better through July, it just felt like it was part of a broader treading of water that this team was doing, and that might be all they were capable of doing. And yet, the standings keep changing. Teams in front of them keep losing. The Royals keep winning. They're back now to 4 games over 500. And the playoff odds now at Fangraphs, go find a coin. Flip it 4 times. Any coin. Silver dollar, quarter, a penny if that's all you got. Dimes are hard to flip, but if that's what you've got, go flip one of those coins 4 times. And if you got it to land heads once and tails once, or heads and heads, congratulations. You have the same odds of that happening as the Royals effectively have to go to the playoffs. It's just over 24%. So 1 1/4, essentially, the Royals playoff odds right now. One of the possible outcomes of flipping a coin 4 times. Whatever outcome you got, 1 in 4 chance of getting that outcome. And that's the same outcome same percentage outcome that the Royals could have right now, according to Fangraphs odds of making the playoffs. If I didn't explain that great, like we said yesterday, we're not mathematicians on this show. But that's what the Royals have done. They have clawed their way back into it. And it's starting to feel a little bit like it did last year, doesn't it? It's starting to feel like they're going to find a way. It's starting to feel like they're going to come up with that rally in the middle innings, that somebody is going to find their way to the big hit, that the starting pitcher is going to pitch their way out of a jam. It's just starting to get that feel like something's happening. And the Royals have taken advantage on this homestand of lesser competition. That is true. But it's what they had to do. They have taken advantage of a long homestand in the heat of the dog days. But that's what they had to do. We talked about it at the start of the homestand. The Royals had been a pretty mediocre home team for the better part of this season. 500-ish at home. Sometimes for portions of the season, they were below 500 at home. That's not the case anymore. They beat up on the White Sox. Two out of 3 over Washington. You thought, well, gosh, that should have been a sweep. But then they get 3 out of 3 from Chicago. They've taken the first 2 from this Rangers team that's now lost 15-21. And look, you don't decide all of a sudden that you're not going to pitch Jacob deGrom, your best guy, in a game that is vital to stopping your slide, if you really feel like stopping your slide is going to amount to much of anything. I don't know that necessarily it's an entire white flag, but it certainly feels like the Rangers are starting to accept their fate a little bit, and they're playing like it. And the Royals played with more energy the last 2 nights. The Royals have the verve. The Royals have the momentum. They're starting to get that feel back, and it's been really, really exciting. And it's been fun to watch them for a change because, look, first 2-3 months, it was not a fun watch. It was a grim watch, watching that offense flail, all the stress of hoping that 2 or 3 runs would be enough on a given night. Nah, man, these dudes bash. You turn on TV, all right, who's going to bang tonight? Is it going to be Vinny? Is it going to be Yaz? You going to hit one right away? Bobby's turn to bang? The Salvi's back in the lineup tonight. It's going to be his turn? Who's going to rake? Who's going to do it? Who's going to be the hero tonight? It's starting to get that feel over the course of this homestand. And the standings are bearing it out. The Royals are in this thing. We'll take a quick break. We'll get to some of your remarks, your comments on what you've seen from the Royals during this homestand. Shehan Jeyarajah going to join us here in just a little bit as well to talk college football. We got Mitch Holthus' training camp report in the 5 o'clock hour. We're talking Chiefs. We'll hear from Andy Reid. We're talking K-State. Best case, worst case scenarios for 2025. We have a great show lined up for you today. And we're really glad you're here. This is 580 Sports Talk. .330 on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in just a moment, Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS Sports to talk some college football. Some thoughts on the Royals from the YouTube commentariat. Isaac keeping it simple. Love the new look Royals. They do feel like a brand new team, with what they're doing on offense and with the contributions they're getting from the new guys like Yastrzemski, like more about him in a second, like Ryan Bergert, like Adam Frazier. They do feel like a new team in a way, not just new guys, but just the way that they're playing, the style of which they are playing. Andrew says, first thought, sign Brian Sweeney and add a 0 or 2 to his contract. That's the pitching coach, Brian Sweeney. Yeah, that might be the most important hire. All due respect to Matt Cotrero, I don't think they made a more important hire in the last 3 years than Brian Sweeney. Holy Moses, what a job he does. Andrew also says Royals still need to address the hitting in the offseason. Well, certainly. I don't think that they would like to wait until July to address the lineup 3 years running. I think they might do more in the offseason, but that's an offseason problem. Joe's a longtime listener. I know it because he says one of my favorite adages, keep losing teams losing tonight. Keep on rolling. Try and get an over on the Rangers again and score another series win. Mark H. asked permission to get back onto the Royals bandwagon. I was off. Now I want back on. Hey, listen, that's the roller coaster, right? That's the 162-game roller coaster. You don't need my permission. You can hop right back on with this bunch because it's a lot more fun to watch them now than it was in June. That was it. It wasn't just that they were playing mediocre ball. They were 500 or 500 adjacent. It was that they were not fun. It was hard to watch the offense. Once Maikel Garcia's at bat was finished, you could go make a sandwich. You didn't have to watch the next 4 or 5 at bats for the Royals. One until it came back around to Bobby Witt Jr. Because India at the top wasn't hitting, and Salvi wasn't hitting, and 6 through 9 weren't hitting. So it was just a really grim watch there for a while, and They do. They feel like it feels like a new coat of paint was applied at the All-Star break. And a big part of that is Mike Yastrzemski. Jake Eisenberg had this stat at Blue Sky earlier today, one of the radio voices of the Royals. Mike Yastrzemski has hit leadoff for the Royals in 10 of the last 11 games. And as the Royals leadoff hitter, he's 9 for 32 with 2 doubles and 4 home runs. So 6 extra base hits in those 32 at-bats, and he has walked more than he has struck out. 8 walks to 5 strikeouts. It's been a professional approach. It's been a rather unexpected power surge from the spot. He has been just what the doctor ordered. Just a solid capital B ball player to plug into the top of that lineup, to put forth a professional at bat. And again, you have to platoon him. He's not going to be the guy who leads off against left-handed pitching, but Maikel Garcia can do it because this is not the Maikel Garcia from last year, right? So you can bat Maikel lead off against righties, or you can bat Grichuk lead off. Like, you can do a lot of things with the lineup right now. But Yaz has taken the leadoff spot like a duck to water. What an outstanding addition that was. J.J. Piccolo made a lot of moves that look really good in retrospect, but the Yastrzemski move is really paying, I think, the most dividends because, again, he's filled that void in the leadoff spot. It has lengthened the lineup because it's got Jonathan India into a spot where he is producing and is more comfortable offensively. And not for nothing, I don't know if you guys have noticed this watching the games, India looks better defensively over at second base in recent weeks. I think since settling down at second, and they haven't moved him all over the lot, haven't tried him at third or left or all those places, they just said, hey, John, go play second base. And I think he's gotten his comfort level back there. And look, nobody's going to confuse him with like prime Roberto Alomar with the glove or anything like that, but he's playing well, making some really nice defensive plays over at second base. So you lengthen the lineup, you get more out of India, you get him more comfortable, and there's this unexpected power boost that Yastrzemski is giving, and apparently that's rubbed off on the rest of the team too. What an addition he's been. Andrew in the YouTube comments says, hope we can bring him back. That is an interesting thought because I think ideally, if you're the Royals, you're looking at right field for the next 6 years as where you play Jack Caglione, right? But look, if you can move Yaz to left field, I'd love to go into next year with a settled, quality veteran with a good glove who you can hit at the top of your order. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. I mean, he'll be 35 next year. Spring chicken, but just, again, capital B ball player. He's been a really good fit. We'll take a break, come back with Shehan Jeyarajah talking college football from CBS Sports. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. .339 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero with you. The college football season gets underway with K-State and Iowa State on Saturday in Dublin, Ireland. You'll be able to hear that game right here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Here to talk about that and the rest of the upcoming college football season with a look at the Big 12. Shehan Jeyarajah for CBS Sports joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Shehan, how ready are you for Saturday and the game that, and this is a better joke in print than it is verbally, but a game we're calling Farm O'Geddon, the Irish edition of Iowa State and K-State?
Well, it's also week 0, so it's kind of perfect with the O in the middle as well.
Yes.
This is probably as good a week 0 game as I can remember, because Iowa State and Kansas State, of course, both ranked. It's the first time in a while that they've both been ranked heading into this matchup. Both have very legitimate Big 12 aspirations. Iowa State, of course, played for the Big 12 last year. Kansas State won one just a couple years ago as well. They've got two great quarterbacks, Rocco Becht and Avery Johnson. And I just look at this game and I look at these teams. I mean, the implications are so high for this game. I think the winner of this game is in the driver's seat in the Big 12 title race when you look at the way that the schedule will lay out for them heading forward. And the loser, with a tiebreaker against the other team lost, will have a much harder time getting back into the conversation. So, like I said, this is one of the most meaningful week 0 games I think we've had in a very long time, and I'm excited to see it play out on ESPN.
Speaking of Avery Johnson, you were on CBS Sports HQ the other day talking about Avery. In particular, what is the thing that you like most, the thing that you're really banking on as far as Avery Johnson having a big improvement in his junior season under center for the Cats?
Well, I think for me, I mean, it just kind of goes to as simply as I just love his work ethic. I think that he's done a great job over the past couple of years of growing as a player. You obviously, you start with the growth that he's had in his body, with the amount of weight that he's put on and the strength and speed. And we got to see all of that put to the test in his first year as a starting quarterback. But where I really want to see that pay off is in his passing. I think that he's gotten the reputation, I think, outside of Big 12 country as being somebody who's a runner who throws a little bit. But like, you look at obviously his tape from high school, and also you see some of the flashes that we saw in 2024. I mean, he has the tools to be a big time passer if he can put it all together. I think about some of the throws that he dropped into receivers, layered throws in coverage, all that sort of stuff. Like, I think he has the goods to be able to pass at a really high level, to be one of the better passing quarterbacks in the Big 12. But it really does come back to his work ethic. I think he's done a great job to put himself in as good a position as possible. And this could potentially be, if he's able to deliver, a coming out party for him in front of a lot of fans.
We're talking to Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS Sports, covers college football for CBSSports.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. I know you're high on K-State. Know you believe that they can win the Big 12 championship. I won't yet spoil who you do think is going to win the conference or who you think is going to Arlington, but you and the rest of the experts over at CBSSports.com happen to put out your picks, so I'm looking at them right now. What is the hesitation with K-State? If there's one thing for you that's a hang-up for the Wildcats, a concern that you think could keep them from getting to Arlington, maybe getting it to the college football playoff, what's that hang up?
I think my biggest hesitation with Kansas State is probably along the offensive line. Of course, replacing two tackles. They bring back, of course, all Big 12 center Sam Heck, but this is a relatively young unit for Kansas State. It's, and they did have turnover at the offensive line coach position last year. And so you don't necessarily know to the same extent whether you can trust it heading from last year into this year. So I think that's my biggest hang up with them, because especially look around the rest of the offense, I really like what they've got. Yeah, DJ Giddens is gone, but you sort of think Dylan Edwards will be able to at least team up with Avery Johnson to give them a good running attack. And there are some pieces that I have questions about on defense, but you sort of trust the development there. I think it's going to be, is the offensive line ready to go in week one and ultimately contend for a Big 12 and national title?
As for the other team in the Sunflower State, you and the rest of the panel over at CBSSports.com all have Kansas in the same general area, right in the middle of the league, 7th through 9th. Everybody on the panel has them right smack dab in the middle of the league. What do you think KU's ceiling is? How good do you think that they could be in a scenario where Jalen Daniels is able to return to his pre-injury form and they're able to find, certainly got a lot of playmakers to replace on offense. It's hard to replace a Devin Neal. So they've got a ton of playmakers and a ton of senior leadership they need to replace. But what do you believe is that team's ceiling? Because it looks like a pretty favorable schedule for them on paper.
And that's a big part of it. I think that when I look at the Big 12 next year, there are 9 teams that I think have at least the upside to be in Arlington playing for the Big 12. And I think that Kansas is one of the last teams in that group, but I do think they are in that group. I think that you look at the combination of schedule, which is very manageable. And the other thing, too, is that while they lost a ton of experience on both sides of the ball, especially at receiver and defensive back, there's some optimism that maybe athletically they have a chance to be a little bit better. And when we watched Jalen Daniels in the first half of last year, he looked like a rusty quarterback that hadn't played in over a year. But in the second half of the year, we started to see the Jalen Daniels we've frankly been expecting for more than 2 years at this point. I think there's a really good chance that we get a good Jalen Daniels in 2025. And the other piece, too, I think that they've done a great job of building in the trenches the past 2 or 3 years. I actually think that it was notable the way that their offensive line play improved across the 2024 season. So while they will have to have some guys who have played a lot of football step up for them, I think that athletically they have a chance to maybe take a step forward. And look, again, contending for the Big 12 is a big ask, but this is a team that I think could easily be back in the 9-win conversation.
Shehan Jeyarajah is our guest, college football writer, CBS Sports, CBSSports.com, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. You've got Texas Tech to win the Big 12. If there's one reason why your eyes are on Lubbock to bring home the Big 12 championship in 2025, what is the factor you believe puts them over the top?
Well, I've talked about it a lot on this call, but it's still the case now. It's trench depth. I think that they have a chance to be one of the best defensive line and pass rushes that we've seen in the Big 12 over the past couple of years. And I'm including some of the great Oklahoma teams as part of that. I think that they really were very clear about trying to upgrade that position group specifically. David Bailey coming over from Stanford, I think, was that final piece. But they've also got Lee Hunter from UCF. They've got Romello Height coming in from Georgia Tech. Like, this is just such a dominant pass rushing unit. And I think they've done a good job on the offensive side of the ball, adding 3 top 50 transfers in the country along the offensive line, led by Howard Sampson from North Carolina. So it's really going to be a question of this, because they also have a relatively favorable schedule other than 3 tough road games. If you can essentially put away 8 of those other 9 games, and if you go 2-2 in those tough games, well, like that's 10 wins, and that's getting you to Arlington. I think that Texas Tech will be able to do that math. And when you talk about the amount of talent that they brought to campus and the amount of money that they spent to do it, I think that anything less than 10 wins and at least being in the tiebreaker for a trip to Arlington would be a huge disappointment.
Does the Big 12 get more than one team in this year's college football playoff, or do you think they're kind of capped at one, just given the nature of the 12-team playoff format?
It's a good question. And I mean, I've gone back and looked at the numbers. If you look for 2014 through 2022, not even including, by the way, Texas and Oklahoma, there have been multiple teams that would be in a top 11 or so in the Big 12 that are coming from that conference. And so, like, I think that these last 2 years, which have been so transitionary for the conference, have maybe skewed perception a little bit. But, so I do think it's absolutely possible for them to get a second team in. I mean, if we're going to say, I think that BYU should have gotten more credit last year, when they were compared head-to-head versus SMU, who they went on the road and beat and still finished 6 spots behind. So I think that this is definitely possible. But I think what needs to happen is, one, they need to take care of business in their non-conference games. I think that maybe the most important team in the Big 12 this year is Baylor, who gets Auburn in week 1 and on the road against SMU in week 2. And then I think the other piece of this as well is that you need one of your highly ranked teams and with a lot of credibility to go through and play well. Like, I don't think, for example, that it mattered that Arizona State was picked number 16 in the preseason poll last year, but I do think that it matters that a lot of the teams that everybody thought were going to be good ended up struggling, teams like Utah and Oklahoma State, because it just means that you struggle to create credibility as the league. But if those teams in 2025 are Arizona State and Kansas State and Baylor and Texas Tech, I think that there is a very good chance that they get a second one in.
A couple more questions for Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS Sports and CBSSports.com, joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline on 580 Sports Talk. What's the one team in the Big 12 that you have in your mind the least handle on, the team that you have no idea what to make of, and any way that they would finish 2025 would not be surprising to you because you just do not know what to make of them?
It's got to be Oklahoma State. I mean, this is a program that obviously you just give them a lot of credibility because of what they've accomplished over the past several years. But you want to talk about new programs? They have 9 new assistant coaches out of 10. By the way, the only one coming back is Sean Snyder, Bill Snyder's son of all people. They also replaced 65 players, and 30 of them arrived over the summer. So when you talk about a new program with no idea what's going to happen, Mike Gundy told me at Big 12 Media Days, like, we don't really know how this is going to go because it's just there's nothing to go on, essentially. There was a tweet floating around today that was basically like, if you're reading this, name one Oklahoma State player. And, I can name maybe 4, but like, I don't know that most people could name more than one, if even one. It's just that kind of roster. All of the good players that you remember from 23 and 24 are gone. Ollie Gordon, Nick Martin, Colin Oliver, Dejon Stribling, Brennan Press. Like there were actually good players on these rosters, and they're all gone. So look, is it possible that everything clicks and they, win 8 games or something like that? I don't know. I don't really think so, but you can't really count it out because this is just so brand new.
All right, Shehan, we'll wrap up with broader national predictions. Who's going to win the college football playoff?
Oh, man, I keep going back and forth on this, and I don't feel like I have a very strong answer. I think that there are 9 teams that I would consider to be in that championship group right now, maybe 4 or 5 of them that have a chance to jump up right now. And, all of our formal picks will be out next Monday over at CBSSports.com. But I think that I might take a flyer on LSU. I think that LSU has the best quarterback in the country in Garrett Nussmeier. I think that they've done a ton to fix that secondary with numerous players with major college experience coming in, including Mansour Delane at Virginia Tech and AJ Halsey coming in from Houston. And I think that if they're able to build up their offensive line and run the ball at a higher level, this is a team that I think has the goods to maybe go all the way. But if you told me to actually they finish unranked, I probably wouldn't be that surprised either.
All right, then give me a name, Shehan. Who's going to win the Heisman?
Well, I told people if I take Jeremiah Smith, that's me waving the white flag because he's just the best player in college football, and I don't know where else it's going to be coming from. And I did, in fact, go with Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, who, again, his numbers should be off the charts this year. I think that they're going to actually improve as a passing offense with Julian Sayin in the lineup. So I could see 1,700 yards and 20 touchdowns potentially in 2025.
Shehan Jeyarajah covers college football for CBS Sports, CBSSports.com. They got a beast of a college football staff over there. You should be reading all their college football stuff over at CBSSports.com. Shehan joins us on the Floating Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. It is always a pleasure to speak with you, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
That is Shehan Jeyarajah. We will step aside for a timeout and come back and wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk next. It is 16 days until the Kansas City Chiefs play their first regular season game of 2025 in Brazil against the Los Angeles Chargers. And I'm going to get the player right today, unlike yesterday. Number 16 on the Chiefs countdown to kickoff is, of course, Lenny the Cool Len Dawson. Two things about Len Dawson. Number one, do you know how cool you have to have that be your nickname? Like, nobody's going to call you Mr. Cool just lightly. They might call it joke. You might call you that jokingly, but nobody's going to call you that lightly. Like, you got to earn the right to be Lenny the Cool. Like, you got to be outrageously cool. And, like, everybody's seen the picture of him in the locker room, halftime, Super Bowl, Fresca, heater, just chilling, like the ultimate Lenny the Cool picture. But watch the footage, watch the film sometime if you're not familiar with who he was as a player. That was a cool cat, man. Let me tell you, you do not get a nickname like that by accident. You do not get a nickname like that lightly. And when it comes to the all-time great nicknames in Kansas City sports history, Lenny the Cool is up there. I don't know if it's number one all time, but it's up there. That's a topic for another day, by the way. Man, that might be a midsummer topic sometime. Best nicknames in Kansas City sports history. The other point I want to make about Len Dawson, by the way, speaking of watch the film, there are a handful of quarterbacks from that era, the 60s and 70s, where I don't know if what they did or what they were as an athlete or what they were as a passer would have translated to today's game. I do not have those doubts about Lenny Dawson. I would take Lenny Dawson over my team. Prime Lenny Dawson, I would take him on my team right now. I think he could be a top 10 quarterback in the league. That player, that version of that player would be a top 10 quarterback in today's NFL. I firmly believe that. I really do. Accurate, prolific, no question. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to talk some K-State football, but we're going to lead off from hearing from Andy Reid and talk about the Chiefs' depth and where do we have concerns. That's next to 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday afternoon. Happy hump day to one and all, and thank you for being with us here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color. Our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Our Facebook stream is at our page, WIBW News. Thanks for being with us. I'm Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is here. We are with you until 6 o'clock, at which point we will hand the ball to the Royals Baseball Network. Royals going for a series win over the Rangers in Game 3 of the 4-game set tonight. And they will send Noah Cameron to the mound. Rangers going with a bullpen day. Caleb Bouchley is their listed starting pitcher tonight. First pitch at 6:40, which means pregame coverage at 6 o'clock when we're done here on 580 Sports Talk. Appreciate, once again, all of you joining us on this Wednesday. Plenty more to get to in the final 2 hours of the program. Of course, coming up at 5:25, Mitch Holthus will join us for a training camp report presented by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. We continue rookie week with the spotlight on Noel Williams. We'll talk some Chiefs to start this hour. Depth by position. Where do you feel good? Where do you not feel so good about the depth that the Chiefs have on what we're thinking is going to be their 53-man roster? We'll get into that. Also, like we did yesterday with the KU football schedule, bottom of this hour, we'll get into the K-State football schedule and look at those games and try and figure out what the best case and the worst case scenarios for Kansas State look like for 2025. For the record, our guest in the last hour, Shehan Jeyarajah, he picked K-State 4th in the conference. I believe of his CBS Sports.com brethren, only Tom Fornelli has picked K-State to win the Big 12. It's worth reading. Go check out their projections and their thoughts on the Big 12. Those published today, so it was really nice timing for us to have Shehan on the program. It's over at CBSSports.com. If you missed that conversation, catch it on our podcast page at 580WIBW.com. You can catch it on our Spotify page. Search for us on Spotify, 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe to the show. Rate us. Review us. Give us a 5-star review. If you do not rate us 5 stars, that's not very nice of you. You can also, of course, just hit rewind on the video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, or our Facebook page, WIBW News, to relive that interview. It was great stuff, as it always is, when Shehan joins us. And speaking real quickly of our Facebook page, WIBW News, we have been posting our Pigskin and Hoops football previews for 2025 as they publish over at our Facebook page, also on our socials, our X account, 580 Sports Talk, and of course, they're going up on our website, 580WIBW.com. If you go there, there's a big link on the front of the page that is this year's Pigskin and Hoops preview. Takes you to the table and contents and the welcome letter, and you can see which of the teams have been published to date. We are publishing an average of 3 a day. It's not exactly 3 a day because, well, the math doesn't work out. There are 28 teams, so we want to spread it out over 10 days. There's going to be a couple of days next week where we only publish 2 previews. But we've done 3 previews a day through the first 3 days of rolling out the 39th WIBW Pigskin and Hoops High School Sports Preview. So far, because we're working from the bottom of the alphabet to the top, which we never get to do, but this year we're doing that. The teams that have had their previews published: Washburn Rural, Wabunsee, Valley Falls, Topeka West, Topeka High, Silver Lake, Shawnee Heights, Seaman, and Santa Fe Trail. Those 9 programs have been profiled. A football preview for those teams is up, again, at our website, 580WIBW.com. You can find links on our X account, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook account, WIBW News. Share them, email them, retweet them, disseminate them with the wider world, and let people know, because we moved away from the print model of the Pigskin and Hoops magazine last year, and there were still people who aren't aware that that's what we've done and maybe thought, well, I guess they just don't preview the football season anymore at WIBW. False. We do. It's just on the internet now. So tell anybody who asks, 580WIBW.com. Tomorrow, St. Mary's Royal Valley, Rossville previews going up on the website bright and early in the morning. You can check the website, 580wibw.com. And again, keep an eye out on our socials as we will publish them throughout. We'll also do previews in case those of you who do not know which Northeast Kansas schools that we preview on a yearly basis. Mention the 9 we've already got published and the 3 that we'll do tomorrow. You're also going to see previews 4 in order of how we'll publish them in reverse alphabetical order. Rock Creek, Riley County, Perry-LeCompton, Oskaloosa, Osage City, Mission Valley, McLeod, Linden, Jeff West, Jeff County North, Jackson Heights, Holton, Highland Park, Hayden, Care Paravel, and Burlingame. So looking forward to previewing those teams. Myself and Brendan Dworzinski have been hard at work writing those previews, and go read them. And again, share them with interested parties on our Facebook, on our X account, and our website, 580wibw.com. Let's get into some pro football, shall we? We'll start with Andy Reid. He spoke to the media earlier today. Short comments from Andy 2 days out of the preseason finale. The most notable stuff that Andy Reid had to say today had to do with who will not play and who may or may not play in the preseason finale Friday night, the home preseason opener, I suppose, against the Chicago Bears. Here's what Andy Reid had to say earlier today.
All right. As far as the injuries go, Brady and Stool will be out. Cochran out. Driscoll out. Mike Edwards out. Nazi, Omar, and Royals. Everything went good today. So guys worked today. Had a good practice today. Today was like a Friday practice. Kind of simulated what an in-season Friday would be like. And again, good day with a little bit of heat up there. And I saw a lot of you guys go inside. At times yours.
Any idea yet on starters and how much they'll play?
Sorry, I'm going to just play it by ear. They're going to start. Yeah, they'll start it off. We'll just see how it goes from there.
How important is it for you to see Christian Fulton, just considering he's been working his way back?
Yeah, we'll see how that rolls with him and see how he feels and go from there. So, yeah.
Hollywood Brown, any intention of how much you want to see from him? How does he look so far?
Yeah, I'm going to just play that by ear. I'm going to see how he does through warm-ups and all that. We'll just kind of go from there. And this is day by day right there. So I want no steps backwards on that.
Andy, you kind of changed a little bit of how you played the starters during this training camp. What's gone into that, and kind of as you've gone through these 3 games instead of 4?
Yeah, there's just a little bit longer wait, here at in between this game and the next game. And so I just think I'd rather give the guys a little bit more time in this game. So the timing keeps a little closer to when we get to our game, in-season game.
We've got a big day up for a lot of these kids who are on the roster cut down days on Tuesday. What's your message to them as they approach this 3rd preseason game?
Yeah, so everybody can't make the team. They know that. I tell them that day one. Just make our job hard. So I can make it hard for Veach and his crew and the coaches to get rid of them. So, and that's how they've gone about their business. I haven't seen guys counting numbers and lines and doing all that stuff. They've come out and worked hard from the first guy to the last guy, and I've appreciated that. And then it's a tough day. I mean, that's not part of the job you like, but inevitably you got to almost cut half a team. So that's not an easy thing.
Is it easier or harder to do it all at once like this, or the way it used to be?
Yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it gives guys maybe a better opportunity to go on, especially the way these practice squads are set up now. You got a lot of numbers there that you can work with, so you get another look potentially at the guys and through practice there. So I think it's a good thing. See what their attitudes are, especially if they know they're right on that border. See how they handle all that.
Good. It looked like there's been Gretchen might be getting on the guys a little bit. Is there, especially with these afternoon practices back at home, there's just a little bit of everybody getting drained and trying to push through camp still?
Yeah, so we've had 2 great days, and so the third day, I just want to make sure they push through it. So they ended up doing it. It was a hot one out there today, and a little encouragement always helps.
That was Andy Reid speaking earlier today. In case you missed it at the top, the list of Chiefs who will not play in the preseason finale on Friday: Jack Cochran, Ethan Driscoll, Mike Edwards, Nazeeh Johnson, Omar Norman-Lott, Jalen Royals, and Jake Brenningstool. Paul asked about Brenningstool in the YouTube chat. Paul asking if Brenningstool is going to make the team. Hasn't made much of an impact outside of camp. I think it was going to be hard for him to get inside the top 4 at that position on the depth chart anyway. If anything, this injury may make it easier for the Chiefs to either IR him and give him effectively a redshirt year or slip him through to the practice squad. I don't think Brenningstool's going anywhere. I think he's going to be with the Chiefs organization through 2025. I just don't know right this second if that's going to be as an IR guy or if that's going to be as a practice squad guy. We'll see. It'll probably depend on, do the Chiefs feel like they can roll the dice on him getting through to the practice squad?
Yeah, and he has at least partially started to practice again. As of, I think it was Monday, he returned to the practice field.
Yeah, so at least he's back out there, which is a positive. Not sure that we'll see Christian Fulton or Hollywood Brown, but a possibility that we see either, or neither, or both potentially play and make their preseason debuts on Friday at Arrowhead. I wanted to ask about the depth of the roster, because watching last Friday night against the Seahawks, it was not a pleasant viewing experience if you were a Chiefs fan, and the second team linebackers in particular and second team defensive line kind of got worn out by Seattle's first team offensive line and first team offense, especially on the opening drive of the game, but really for the balance of the first half. And I think it's easy to look at that and kind of overreact. Oh, my God, the Chiefs' backup linebackers are the worst thing I've ever seen. They better not get those guys hurt, those starters hurt in front of them. Otherwise, it's going to be bad news if Jack Cochran and Cole Christensen and Jeffrey Bassa have to start at linebacker. And my response to that is, yeah, duh. Like, this is the NFL. Just about every team's starters are better than just about every team's second string guys. It's kind of the way it works. It's easy to overreact in the moment because you're frustrated, because it's not fun to watch, but it is what it is to an extent. But it got me thinking about the depth of this roster. And I think there are portions of this roster where I think you can feel really good about the depth. And there are portions of the roster where I think it's fair to have some questions. So this is how I have it ordered, from the groups I think are deep to the injuries would be really, really bad for this group tier at the very bottom. Now, I've removed quarterback from the conversation for what should be obvious reasons. Like, even if the Chiefs do have a good backup quarterback, and I think Gardner Minshew is the best they've had since Chad Henne at a minimum, it's still a backup to Patrick Mahomes. And in the words of the former Colts offensive coordinator Tom Moore, back when Peyton Manning was his quarterback, if that guy goes down, we're bleeped. And that's how it is with the Chiefs and Mahomes. So we'll take quarterback out of the equation because they have a quality backup, and that's good. You also don't ever want to see the backup play in a game because of how good the starter is. So
yeah, I've got something later on this in my one's got to go for the end of the hour.
Okay.
About backup quarterbacks, just to tease it.
Interesting. All right. A little teaser for later in the show. Love that. The group I thought might have been the deepest for the Chiefs was defensive back. But the injury bug has bitten a little bit late in camp. They've already lost Deion Bush for the season. Mike Edwards dealing with the hamstring. Christian Fulton is just now getting back on the field. Nazeeh Johnson has the shoulder. Noel Williams in concussion protocol. Now, I don't think there's any long-term concern about Williams in particular, but remains to be seen about Edwards and about Johnson. And Edwards in particular is a concern because he's safety number 3 behind Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook. And if Edwards is out, then on the safety depth chart, you're looking at guys whose natural position is not safety. You're looking at Shamari Connor playing a lot of safety. You're looking at Chris Roland Wallace having to play a lot of safety. I like that group a lot better. Healthy, I think it's extremely deep. It's so deep, in fact, that Joshua Williams isn't going to make the team. But I do worry a little bit about the injury bug having bitten the way that it has. Still, if you can remove that from the equation, if you assume that the Chiefs are going to get to the regular season mostly intact in the defensive backfield, I think it's a very, very deep position. And that stands to reason with how well they've done coaching up that position, developing that position, especially day 2, day 3, and undrafted players at those spots. Defensive back to me is the deepest group on the roster, assuming health. I have pass catcher as the second deepest, and I love wide receiver and tight end for convenience sake here. Again, I think you feel really good about tight end 3 being Robert Tonyan. What he's shown you in this training camp, he looks like a brand new man. Looked like essentially taking a year off from playing competitive football last year, only dressing for 5 games for the Vikings. That seems to have rejuvenated Tonyan a little bit. And that guy's put up numbers in an NFL season before. You feel really nice about that being your backup behind the future Hall of Famer, Travis Kelce, and a guy coming off a career year in Noah Gray.
Yeah, I think too, when you look at a guy like Tonyan, the fact that he familiarized himself with this offense and this team and this playbook late in last season on the practice squad, that doesn't hurt at all. That really helps.
I feel like that's been an advantage for both him and Tyquan Thornton, who was also a late practice squad addition last year and now is going to make the team. Everybody's raving about him, and not even just from a special team standpoint, which you normally think wide receiver 6, most of his contributions might be on special teams, but he's doing a really nice job in the passing game to the point where I think we're going to see him make a little bit of an impact at wide receiver this year. And that's wide receiver 6, a former second-round pick. Wide receiver 5 is a guy who's been a 1,000-yard guy in Juju Smith-Schuster. The Jalen Royals knee injury is looming as a potential issue, but if Royals can't go, Nico Remigio, Jason Brownlee have had really good camps. And as it currently stands, you might have to cut one or both of those guys. So if there's an injury, you got a chance to keep a guy who's going to help you in some capacity. I like the depth that the Chiefs have at pass catcher. Defensive line, no concerns there. Obviously, it's a bummer to lose Felix Anudike-Uzomah, but realistically, that was DE4. And if Malik Herring rejoins the fray, or if it's Marlon Tuipulotu that makes the roster in his stead, I still think the Chiefs are very firm there. I think the collection of defensive ends they're going to start the season with, Karlaftis, Dana, Gelati, and Omenahu, is as good a rotation of defensive ends as they have started a season with in the Mahomes era. I think that's deep. I think that's game-changing ability up and down there. Certainly Omenahu's a guy who you can use situationally, and you get tremendous production from him as far as situational pass rush goes. So, and versatility with him being able to kick inside, and Chris Jones, of course. Need I say more about Chris Jones? I really like the depth on the defensive line. So those are the 3 positions where I'm a thumbs up on the depth, injury, permitting, health permitting in those regards. The offensive line, I think the Chiefs are deeper on the offensive line than they've been because they have a much more qualified offensive lineman number 6 this year than they've had. Jalen Moore is a well-qualified and well-compensated 6th offensive lineman, and you feel good about him stepping in the event of injury. Mike Caliendo has started games in the league. I like the first 7 for the Chiefs. Never really seen Hunter Norzad. Wanye Morris is still kicking around for goodness knows what reason. I haven't seen a lot of CJ Hansen or Ethan Driscoll. Esapole is still super raw. I don't know if I've said this before, but I would almost rather keep Pole on the 53 than Wanye Morris. I hope they can keep Pole on the practice squad. I think there's something there. Yeah. He's only played football for like 4 years and didn't allow a sack as a senior at Washington State. Like, I think there's something there. Even if it's just like a solid swing tackle. Like, I like him more than I like Prince Tega Wanogo or Chub Godric or even, honestly, Wanye Morris. Morris's advantage is he's played NFL games. And even, I know our most recent, what we saw of him last year wasn't very good, but he's had his moments as an NFL player, which if you're talking about your 4th tackle as a guy who has occasionally performed well in an NFL game, like, you live with that. But I don't know. I like the upside of Pole. I kind of feel like we're out of upside with Wanye Morris, even though he is a pretty young player still.
What do you think about Godric? Because he's still got that exemption, right?
Yeah, practice squad guy to me.
But that helps though, because you can keep an extra guy on practice squad if you put him there.
No, absolutely. No, I think the Chiefs will hope that he can continue on the practice squad. I don't think they're in a hurry to get rid of Chu Godric. I just don't think he's one of their 9 or 10 best offensive linemen. Linebacker. I think the starting 3 really solid, complement each other well. I think Leo Chanel's primed for a big year. Nick Bolton got paid. Drew Tranquil, solid vet. Really like the starting group of linebackers. The backups are a concern. I think you saw their limitations against the Seahawks. And again, those things are going to be amplified because you're going up against a first team. But Jack Cochran is not athletic enough. And Jeffrey Bassa is a little too light in the seat as a rookie to take on blockers in the way he's going to need to play a box linebacker position and not like a hybrid type of player. He's got to get a little stronger. There are some really intriguing guys who I think have had really good camps, really good preseason showings. Cooper McDonald, Brandon George, those names have kept coming up from people who cover the team, who've been around him every day. Hoping a couple of those guys can get to the practice squad. Maybe one of them makes the team over like a Cam Jones. I doubt that because Jones has been a core special teamer since he got to the Chiefs. But like there are some intriguing guys at the back of the depth chart that you maybe can keep on the practice squad. But that is definitely a group where you've got a big fall off from your starters to your reserves. And then at the bottom of the list, the group that I think has probably the least amount of depth that I'm real positive about naturally would be the group where I still think they're going to add a player who's not currently on the roster to make the team at this position. I'm talking about running back. I thought that what we have seen in very brief action for Isaiah Pacheco in the preseason has been very encouraging. It looks like the burst and the speed have returned. It's understandable that it took about a calendar year for it to do so after the injury he suffered last year, having to put screws in his leg, all that stuff. I think Isaiah Pacheco could come back and be running back number 1. Kareem Hunt, solid short yardage guy. Brashard Smith, exciting prospect, but still like very much a project kind of player. And then are you like thrilled about Carson Steele, the fullback? Elijah Mitchell hasn't really shown out. Like, how do you feel if Pacheco gets hurt again? You feel really, really iffy about having to turn it over to more Kareem Hunt carries. Like between the 20s, I don't want to give the ball to Kareem Hunt at all unless it's 3rd down and 1 or 4th down and 1.
I agree with what our guy from Sports Illustrated, Matt Verderam, said when I asked him about potential trading Washington for their disgruntled running back. And I think that
does he have a name?
Brian Robinson.
There we go.
Brian Robinson would be a fit on this roster. I think you could have a 1-2 punch with him and Pacheco. And
like, I'm not sure that he's good, but I do think he's better than Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
And I think can you get 3rd down back stuff from him? Like, can he pick up a blitzer on a 3rd down?
I think
can he catch out of the backfield? Like those are the things. Like, yeah, if that's the kind of thing you can get, like, and you can maybe trade a future. I don't know. What are they looking for? You're our commander insider here. What are the Commanders looking for Brian Robinson? Would they do like a future 4th, future 5th?
Somewhere between 3rd and 5th, I think.
I would probably come off a 5th. I'd come off a 5th for Brian Robinson. Yeah.
And I think part of it would be taking some of the salary, maybe.
I might even be talking
like if they gave a 3rd,
if it's a late 4th, because it always is, because you're always playing in the Super Bowl.
If you gave them a 3rd and then they kept salary, like,
yeah, there's the salary consideration, so that might be the kind of thing you need to do to make the cap work. Yeah, that's a phone call I'd consider making for sure if I were the Chiefs. Any position you don't feel as good or feel better about the depth at for the Chiefs than I do?
I mean, I think we're all kind of on agreement on the way things look right now and with the injuries. I think it's pretty much across the board. Like, those are the areas that are good, or those are the areas that are concerned right now, injuries. And then,
defensive back and pass catcher are the 2 I feel the best about, but they're also the 2 that are being stress tested by some pretty potentially important injuries right now. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back with a round of What Is Wrong With You next. It's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. 2 news stories today competing against our current weekly winner, the 40-year-old gentleman in Connecticut who thought he was a kid again and could go down a tube slide on a school playground, and what he got for his trouble was stuck for half an hour in the poorly ventilated tube slide. It's just a funny story.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. I have a very simple story today, so I will go first. We're going to Elgin, Iowa. What's dumber than getting arrested for laying down drunk in a ditch? What's dumber than that? How about getting arrested for laying down in a ditch pretending to be drunk when you aren't? That's what we have here. 31-year-old Caleb Barker of West Union. At approximately 5:30 a.m. Monday, Fayette County Sheriff's deputies responded to the 7,000 block of Golden Road in Elgin after receiving a report of individuals lying in a ditch. Police arrived on scene and found Barker, who was arrested and charged with simulated public intoxication. So, a charge of pretending to be drunk in public. That is the absolute lamest thing you could get thrown in jail for. Yeah, I was pretending to be drunk. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it is a thing in Iowa specifically. It is under the statute. I'm looking at the code. I'm looking at the Iowa legislature website right now. 123.46 Article 3, consumption or intoxication in public places. A person shall not simulate intoxication in a public place. A person violating this subsection is guilty of a simple misdemeanor. What is going on in Iowa that they felt like they needed to criminalize pretending to be drunk?
Yeah, put it on the books there.
That's wild. And I'm going to go ahead and guess our guy didn't know that was a crime. Unless that's like well known. We have any Iowans in the audience? Can you tell us that this is a well-known fact in the state of Iowa or not? That you can get arrested and charged with a misdemeanor for pretending to act drunk in public? Like, is that just a thing you know? Like, welcome to Iowa. Don't pretend to be drunk around here. Do it the real way. Pound these natty lights like a real man. Bush lights, I guess. In Iowa State, In Ames, it's Bush Light. Got to be real careful about that. Anyway, That's what we have. This guy got arrested for pretending to lie down drunk in a ditch in Iowa. What's your story today, Spencer?
Yeah, we're going to Port Richey, Florida. David Cruz, 70 of Pasco County, said, "What started as a search for companionship online turned into financial and emotional devastation. Earlier this year, Cruz accepted a Facebook friend request from someone identifying herself as Bonnie Fleck, an interior designer from Indianapolis. Their online chats soon evolved into phone calls and even what appeared to be video chats, later discovered to be AI generated. Cruz says Bonnie claimed she had been offered to work in Australia but needed money for paperwork. Believing her, he dipped into his emergency home equity loan, sending her $5,000, then more, eventually wiring a total of $47,000, including transfers through Bitcoin. When the request for money escalated, Cruz reported the situation to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Investigators determined the account was connected to Nigeria, not Indiana. So
this is actually just really sad. This is happening a lot. I saw a story where a few days ago where there was an older gentleman in New York who got suckered by one of those like AI bots it's operated by Meta, the company that owns Facebook. And it was a Meta AI bot that had manipulated him into thinking, oh yeah, I live in the city. I would love to see you. And that dude left his apartment in the middle of the night, was walking to the train station to go and take the train to see this woman in New York who, again, did not exist. And he fell and died.
Jeez.
Died. For nothing, because people will run these scams, and it's easier than ever to do it with this AI nonsense. And honest to God, the more I'm confronted with it, the more mad I get about it. Like that you prey on emotionally vulnerable people, particularly the elderly, and you scam them out of money with this AI stuff. And look, like we're young enough, you and me,
Yeah.
you're much younger than me, but like we've spent our whole lives on the internet, right? And so we've seen it change. We've seen it evolve. We're a little savvier, I think, than maybe some of the older generation when they're confronted with AI to recognize it right away.
I mean, even fake accounts. Like, there's somebody that I know is a business owner from where I went to college, like radio business owner, and he shares the fake sports stuff on Facebook because he just doesn't connect the dots that it's necessarily.
There's so much
fake.
slop. I saw something the other day. It was like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., star of the Blue Jays, was so happy that his father has been freed as a prisoner of war in the Ukraine. And it's this picture, obviously photoshopped, of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. crying and hugging a man who is not his father, who, as we all know, is former Major League Baseball player Vladimir Guerrero, who is not, to the best of anyone's knowledge, a prisoner of war in Ukraine or anywhere else. But no, people are falling for this stuff. People fall for it every day, and it's dangerous, man. And if you've got like older relatives who spend a lot of time on Facebook or a lot of time on X, a lot of time on just on their computers, you got to be real vigilant about what it is they're doing, who it is they're talking to, what it is they're looking at, what kind of accounts they're following. You got to make sure they don't fall prey to this stuff. Like, it's our responsibility to be real honest about this as a younger generation, to make sure that folks don't fall for stuff like this. We got to be on our game, and we got to really make sure that the people from those generations who we care about and who we love don't fall victim to this stuff, don't get scammed like this. It's awful. With that in mind, because this is just a sad story, we're gonna go with our fake drunk. Text from the 615 into the text line. New billboard. Welcome to Iowa. Don't pretend to be drunk until you leave. Thanks for your cooperation. Pound those natties like a real man. Does that beat the guy getting stuck in the slide?
No,
I don't think so either. Because really, it's not a dumb guy. It's just a dumb law.
Yeah.
So I'll go with the guy who gets stuck in the slide. We'll keep on with him as our current weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. We're talking K-State football when we come back on 580 Sports Talk. 444 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. No Wildcat wrap-up today. We were just unable to connect and coordinate with the Go Power Cat crew as they gallivant about the Emerald Isle. And look, I wouldn't want to pause my fun time in Ireland to talk to me either.
I also didn't realize that Fitz and his wife went too.
Yeah.
So,
They
we
made
don't want
a
to
real
disturb
trip out of it. Yeah.
We don't want to disturb their vacation.
I honestly felt bad. I even tried. So, no, in all seriousness, Wildcat wrap-up with Tim Fitzgerald will return next week on 580 Sports Talk. But in its place today, we'll do what we did yesterday, go through the K-State schedule. We did it yesterday with the KU schedule and kind of graded the game, so to speak, in terms of likely outcome or just kind of how they feel, at least on paper, from the start of the season. And I'll start by saying this. I don't have any game on the K-State schedule that I feel like, oh, that's definitely a loss, or that is more likely than not a loss. I think that doesn't mean I think they'll be favored in all 12 games. I don't think that will be the case. I don't think they'll be favored at Baylor, in Waco. I don't think they'll be favored at Utah late in the year because I do think Utah is going to be good. But that leaves like 10 of the 12 they're going to be favored in because they're favored in Saturday's game. So I don't have any game where I have a lean loss or likely loss for Kansas State. I don't. I have 3 toss-ups. One of them is the opener against Iowa State. That is a toss-up. And I like K-State's talent better than I like Iowa State's talent. Iowa State lost so much on offense. You don't realize it until you look at the depth chart. Iowa State put out their depth chart. K-State put out their depth chart. Look at Iowa State's depth chart. I don't know who any of those guys are. Man, it is a very new offense around Rocco Becht and those running backs, Hansen and Sama. But that's a toss-up for me because Iowa State has controlled the games the last 2 years against Kansas State. And it might be more accurate to say that Kansas State has lost control of those games. And I want to get back to that point here in a little bit. But that's a toss-up to me. Could go either way. Wouldn't shock me. North Dakota's a must-win because it's an FCS game. It's going to be tricky. Like, Iowa State's going to have to go through this too. The games that Iowa State has, just like the games K-State has coming off of the Ireland trip, getting your body clock right and making sure that you go from the emotional peak of playing a major game in your conference in week 0 in front of the entire country to playing North Dakota on ESPN Plus at home. That's going to be a big emotional swing. You have to manage that. But that's still a must-win for K-State. So is the Army game. That ain't going to be any fun. Man, like if I'm Chris Kleiman, I would be, Gene Taylor's obviously my pal, but I'd be saying, Gene, why'd you have to put Army on the schedule the year we had to go to Dublin? Put Army on the schedule, man. Brother, I don't know why you did this to me. Why do I have to go to Dublin and I got 2 weeks to figure out how to stop the option? The triple option, the flex bone. Not fun, but should be a win. Army was very good last year. Should be still nasty on defense, but they lost a lot on offense. At Arizona is a must-win for me. It's a non-league game, just like it was last year. I just don't think Arizona is very good. That's a game Kansas State should be a lot better than Arizona. They should be a lot better than UCF. That's a must-win in their 5th game, their first conference game at home. At Baylor is a toss-up to me. At Baylor, that game is a toss-up. I don't think that that's a game that I would just automatically assume that K-State would lose. TCU at home, that is a likely win. I'm starting to come around on the idea that TCU could surprise this year because they basically did what Baylor did in the second half last year. They got red hot. They got a prolific quarterback. We're talking about Baylor, but we're not talking about TCU in the same way. Maybe we should be. But I still think that's a likely win for K-State at home. The next 2 are games where I would lean Kansas State to win. At KU and at home against Texas Tech. And maybe Tech should be considered a toss-up too. But I think being at home is an advantage for Kansas State. They played really well at home in big games under Chris Kleiman. They have played really well at home. And I think that's going to be a massive game. So, like the games, when K-State has let it slip, and again, more about this in a second, it has typically been in games that don't have a lot of like hype or don't feel as significant. Maybe even games where K-State hasn't necessarily been favored or been favored by a lot. But those games have brought out the best in the Wildcats, and I think Tech will bring out their best. So that's a lean win for me. At Oklahoma State is a must win. At Utah, like I mentioned, the toss-up. Colorado's a likely win in the finale at home. So for me, floor 9-3. They should at least be a 9-3 football team. They at least should be 9-3. And could they run the rack? Could they go 10-2, 11-1? Yeah, that ought to be considered their ceiling. But this is the thing with K-State that I keep coming back to. That is the thing that is nagging me. It is not anything to do with the talent. I think this is Chris Kleiman's most talented K-State team. I really like what they've done in the secondary. I think the secondary is going to be much improved overall from last year. I think the front six in the 3-3-5 are going to be good. The linebacking core should be outstanding with Romaine and Purnell. They'll find solutions on the offensive line. Like the standard there is so high that even like a bad K-State offensive line is still like average. And I think last year they were about an average offensive line. I think they can improve from that and should. Pass catchers should be as talented as they've been. And Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards are as dynamic as any backfield in America. This is the most talented team that K-State has had. Here is the question. Can you win all the games you're supposed to? Because since 2000, Kansas State has lost 6 games as a double-digit favorite. 6 times they have been a double-digit favorite, and they have lost. And like one of those games was a Oklahoma State game 3 years ago now, where they were 11-point favorite on the road on that Friday night. Will Howard played a terrible first half, and they ended up getting beat. But for me, that's the question. Can they get through this? Can they get up for the big games? I have no question that they can. I have no doubt that they can get up for the big game. Can they avoid stubbing their toe? Can they avoid the inexplicable loss, the Houston game last year? Just beat who you're supposed to beat. And I think the rest of it is going to take care of itself. Because talent-wise, Kansas State doesn't have to take a back seat to anybody in this conference. They're better than Iowa State. Can they avoid making the big mistake against Iowa State? We'll talk about that more as we preview the game on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I think Iowa State coming out against them is going to be I don't think it's detrimental to the season if things don't go good over in Dublin. But I think if you come out with a big win, it definitely is a sigh of relief because of the whole travel. And I mean, their flight's about to take off from Kansas City in like 15, 20 minutes. And not having that long, like I feel like NFL teams have more lead time overseas to their games. So if you come out with a big win there, I'm thinking 9-3 or 9-3, 10-2 type season for them.
Yeah, I have said 10-2, and I think that 10-2 is 7-2 in the Big 12. And I think if they win the right games, they'll win the tiebreaker and they'll go to Arlington. And I think they will go to Arlington and they will rematch Iowa State and they will beat them in Arlington and they will win the Big 12 championship. That is my belief. I don't know if they can get there with 3 conference losses. I think they've got some mulligans, but not many. I think 10-2 still does it. I don't think 9-3 does. I agree with the texter from the 785. 9-3 is probably not going to do it unless they're the right 3 or it's 2 with a inexplicable non-conference loss to Army or Arizona. But if they go 7-2 in the Big 12, I think that they will go to the Big 12 championship game. I think they're going to be a mess of teams at 7-2, but I like K-State's chances to come out good in the tiebreaker there because they get Tech at home, and they're going to have a chance to control their own destiny against teams like Baylor, TCU, Utah, who might also be in the mix there. So I've said 10-2. I think, like I said, talent-wise, they don't take a backseat to anybody. We'll take a break, come back with a quick round of One Gotta Go to wrap up the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. One got to go here on 580 Sports Talk. And Spencer, you had one lined up. You had one on deck, so I'm going to let you bat first.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this earlier today, and I mean over the last couple of weeks about like the Chiefs backup situation being one of the best they've had in years, and you said it earlier in the show about that. So I was thinking, I was like, well, what about who's the other, like the reverse one got to go? Who'd you pick of the AFC West teams? Then I was like, no, because that consists of Jared Stidham, Taylor Heineke, and Aiden O'Connell. So I said other AFC contenders. Who would you have of these three? Bills, Mitch Trubisky, Ravens, Cooper Rush, or Houston's Davis Mills?
Of those three?
You had to pick one to be your backup.
Oh. Boy, that's gross.
It's gross in the West, I think.
No, honestly, like Heineke, like he'll let him hang. Like he'll go out and play. He won't play scared.
He's
not going to play smart, but he won't
small.
play scared. I'd take him, no hesitation, among those West quarterbacks. But among the contenders, man, everybody who hates on Matt Nagy should remember that he, at very least, made people think Mitch Trubisky might be good. Like that's a credit to Matt Nagy and his job as a head coach there in Chicago.
I mean, I would pick Trubisky.
I think I'd go Cooper Rush. I don't know. Maybe he's more famous, I guess. He looked good for the Cowboys. 5 o'clock hour, we got Mitch Holthus headlines and some Royals talk on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you until 6 o'clock here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And, of course, on our YouTube stream, find us on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. You can also watch us on Facebook at WIBW News. Spencer, you have told me that we are now 12 subscribers shy of 800 on YouTube.
Let me get the most up-to-date number. Here we are, 12.
Okay, 788. I can do math. 788 subscribers. We had 2 heroes today. We're going to need 12 more to get to Armageddon. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, the arm wrestling duel that nobody asked for, but we're going to deliver anyway. As soon as we get to 800 subscribers on our YouTube channel, we're going to do the arm wrestling brawl to end them all. So, 2 new subscribers today. Love to see that. Thanks for hanging out with us. However you're hanging out with us. If you're watching on the YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, or if you're, the old-fashioned way and you don't want to look at our faces, which who could blame you, and you just want to listen on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. We got one more hour together today. As I mentioned, we're going to hand it off at 6 o'clock to the Royals Baseball Network. Royals and Rangers, Game 3 of the 4-game series tonight. The Royals catch a break. They don't have to face Jacob deGrom tonight, the 3-time Cy Young Award winner and Rangers' best starting pitcher. I guess second best starting pitcher this year. Have you seen what Nathan Eovaldi has done this year? Holy smokes.
Yeah, he's had like a resurrecting year.
I mean, he's always been good, but this year he's been like great. His ERA is in the ones, and the Royals duck him because he pitched on Sunday. So that was already good news going into this series. And now deGrom's not going tonight. deGrom leads the Rangers staff in starts and strikeouts, and they will not deal with him tonight. Instead, they will face Caleb Bauschle, I believe is how this name is pronounced. So I'm going to have to double check that on Baseball Reference. It doesn't say. They don't have a pronunciation guide for Caleb Bauschle, maybe it's Bauschle. At any rate, he'll pitch, and then a bunch of guys out of the bullpen for the Rangers will pitch tonight instead. Going up against Noah Cameron for the Royals. We'll get more into some baseball a little bit later on here in this final hour of the program. Also coming up later this hour, another training camp report with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, presented by Hy-Vee and Zurich Credit Union. Rookie week continues on our 580 Sports Talk training camp reports, and they are presented by Hy-Vee and Zurich Credit Union. And Noel Williams will be in the spotlight today. We'll look forward to hearing about the rookie corner out of Cal and what he brings to the team this year. We also got some 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up here as well. In fact, let's go ahead and start there, shall we? Let's start with more great news for my Big 12 football agenda for 2025. You guys know about this. I've been pumping this since Big 12 football media days. The Big 12 is the best quarterback conference in the country, and it should promote itself as such. It should shout it from the rooftops. What makes good football? First and foremost, if you don't know anything else about a football game and you want to decide whether or not it's worth watching, tell me about the quarterbacks. Are the quarterbacks good? Then the game's going to be good. So shout it from the rooftops, Big 12. You're the best quarterback conference in the country. And the Big 12 has heard my cries. From the Big 12 Conference today. Big 12 Conference to celebrate league's rich history of field generals with launch of Big 12 QB Club. The Big 12 Conference has launched the Big 12 QB Club, a celebration of the league's rich history of field generals and its depth at the quarterback position this season. The Big 12 is home to a nation-leading 9 returning quarterbacks who threw for 2,400 yards or more last season, as well as marquee newcomers who will bolster the Big 12 QB Club for the 2025 season. I'm doing my read a press release voice. Additionally, this year's slate of Big 12 quarterbacks feature the most signal callers of any conference in America on the Davey O'Brien and Manning Award preseason watch list. Quarterbacks that have amassed 194 wins, over 102,000 yards of total offense, and 823 total touchdowns in their college careers. As the league enters its 30th season, the conference will also use the Big 12 QB Club to celebrate legendary signal callers throughout its history. Since 1996, the Big 12 has seen 5 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. Quick, Spencer, how many can you name?
Off the top of my head, Colin
Tick,
Klein.
Tick.
No, he didn't win.
He did not win the point of contention still in Manhattan to this day.
I don't know, but I have a
tick,
question about this.
Uh-huh.
Is it teams that have joined the Big 12, or is it players that played in the Big 12?
Players who played in the Big 12. So, like Baker Mayfield, correct answer.
Yes. Okay.
Jason White, correct answer. Robert Griffin III, correct answer.
I should have got that.
And then there are 2. No, they didn't give it to Vince Young. kind of outrageous, right? I mean, look, they gave it to Reggie Bush, and they took it away from Reggie Bush, and they gave it back to Reggie Bush, but they didn't give it to Vince Young. I was about to say Vince Young. That would have been incorrect. Colt McCoy didn't win it. Who are the other 2? Man, I guess I'm stuck now.
While you look that up, I asked that question because at one point Conference USA tried to claim Randy Moss.
That's funny.
Yeah. I was like, the MAC.
Damn. Jason White at Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. Oh, Kyler. And there's one other.
Johnny Manziel.
No, he was Texas A&M was out of the Big 12 by then.
It says 2012. Now in the SEC, it says were they?
Yeah, they were in the SEC then.
Okay.
Yeah, they were in the SEC then.
Ricky Williams? No, that's a
Ricky Williams was a running back. Yeah. Eric Crouch. Yeah. Nebraska. Eric Crouch, 2001. There you
Sam Bradford.
Yeah, Bradford is a yes, too. So who am I forgetting? Kyler Murray, Mayfield, Bradford, Crouch, and RG3. And so there should be 6 then, because Crouch was still in the Big 12 at the time. Maybe the press release is wrong. Eric Crouch, let's count this through. Eric Crouch, Jason White, Sam Bradford. Yeah, that would have counted. Robert Griffin III was in the Big 12 at the time. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. Yeah, that's 6.
So on Wikipedia, for what it's worth, it has Eric Crouch as quarterback / wide receiver.
Well, that's wrong. I watched Eric Crouch. He may not have been a traditional quarterback, but he was a quarterbap. Yeah, man.
I'm just letting you know.
The press release is wrong, man. That's crazy. Yeah, it's 6. Am I losing my mind?
I don't think so.
Jason White. They probably forgot about Jason White. I guarantee you they forgot about Jason White or Eric Crouch, which fair. Anyway, a quote from Big 12 Chiefs football officer Scott Draper. The Big 12 is home to the best quarterbacks in the country who will be on display each week during the season. The history of our conference is rooted in elite quarterback play, and this season's dynamic playmakers at the position will play a key role in another exciting season of Big 12 football. The conference will highlight quarterback play from all 16 of its members each week while connecting to the league's storied history at the position that includes Heisman-winning quarterbacks. Highlight reels, in-depth statistical analysis, and feature storytelling will spotlight Big 12 QBs across social media platforms and Big 12 football broadcasts. You already got a taste of this if you were following Big 12 football on X, the Big 12 conference, because they were doing like, oh, here's the best throws that Sawyer Robertson made last year, or here's best highlights from Jalen Daniels' 2024. Like, they're setting the table for this. They're really leaning into the Big 12 being the quarterback conference. And again, good for them. This is how you tell your story. It is so important for this conference to take the lead in telling its own story because the networks aren't going to do it for them. And the Big 12 just has to take the lead. And this is a way that they're doing it. So salute and thank you for listening to me and my agenda, my Big 12 quarterback agenda going strong. Next headline.
We're going to go with some NFL notes here.
Okay.
Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson left practice early today with what is being described as a hand/wrist issue. There's no official wording yet, but according to posts from Ian Rappaport that Ian Rappaport reposted, he did leave early with the strength and conditioning and trainers. Also, former Chief current Titan L'Jarius Sneed is off the PUP list for the Titans.
And that's a big deal. Obviously, they need him back. We have some breaking, speaking of former Chiefs, we have some breaking news from Adam Schefter. Demarcus Robinson, former Chief, current San Francisco 49er, 3-game suspension for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. He will miss the first 3 games of 2025.
Want to get one more quick headline in here, or a quick bit of news from the NFL.
Sure.
Because this guy will probably be playing in a game that some Chiefs fans will be watching on Friday night. Bears backup quarterback Tyson Bagent gets a 2-year, $10 million extension. So they really what they have in him as a backup behind Caleb Williams. Also, this turns off any trade talk that potentially was there, maybe to the Saints. There's some trade talk about him to the Saints.
So this is nuts. And I don't mean this in a disparaging way to Tyson Bagent. I am always going to be in favor of the player getting the bag. And this is a nice little bag for a Division II kid who probably never thought that this was possible. A nice little 2-year contract extension for Tyson Bagent. You had this information. You shared this with me earlier. This is the first Bears quarterback to receive a contract extension from the team since whom?
Jay Cutler in 2014.
It's been a decade since a Bears quarterback got a contract extension. They let Trubisky walk. Like, obviously, the idea is Caleb Williams going to get one eventually, but they extended Tyson Bagent. And this is why this is nuts. This is why it is nuts that the Bears did this. Caleb Williams, well documented, not great as a rookie.
Yeah.
Like, it could have gone better for Caleb Williams. Now, I am resolute in my belief that the arm talent and the athleticism is still there and that Caleb Williams is going to be a good NFL quarterback. I'm not dumping Caleb Williams' stock. I think he was in a bad situation. Matt Eberflus was a dunce, and they've now got an offensive-minded head coach to work with Caleb Williams, and I think it's going to go better for him moving forward.
And I think one that has had that, last year has had success. And I think that's part of the reason why Tyson wanted to resign. So he spoke to the media today, and he said that, I guess, he spoke with their GM, Ryan Poles, a former chief executive, last week about the extension, about potentially signing an extension. And he said he had to decide over the last week if he wanted to stay there and learn more under them or potentially, go somewhere else after this year. So it looks like he wants to learn under Ben Johnson in that offense for the next couple of seasons.
This is why you don't do this, though, if you're the Bears.
It's
because
you've got an interesting look.
You've got a struggling, a starting quarterback who has struggled.
Yes.
Who is the most popular player in every NFL team?
The backup quarterback.
The backup quarterback, especially the scrappy underdog backup quarterback. And now you have just legitimized him further by giving him this money. And this is not, again, none of this is Tyson Bagent's fault. What's he supposed to do? Turn down $10 million?
Yeah.
No, this is not his fault.
That's life-changing money for a guy who was an undrafted free agent.
This is life-changing money for anybody.
And stuck on a roster.
So this is not anti-Tyson Bagent or anything that he should have done differently here. But if you're the Bears, going out and giving a guarantee like that to your backup quarterback, it does not send a very good signal to your starting quarterback, your number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. And it will only serve to poison the well when it comes to the discourse the minute Caleb Williams misses a throw on 3rd and 7 in week 1. All right, well, put in the backup. Brendan, as our leading Chicago correspondent, could give us much better insight on just what it's been for 60 years plus for Bears fans at the quarterback position and how quickly they will turn on Caleb Williams or the scrappy underdog backup quarterback who's now the scrappy underdog well-compensated backup quarterback. Yeah, it could get ugly. And that is not Tyson Bagent's fault, but it is a bit of an own goal by the Bears. They didn't have to do this. And the fact that they did it, it doesn't look good it doesn't reflect well on their starting quarterback, and it leads to some potential ugliness on the part of the fan base. So, but good for Tyson. I want to be clear. I want to be clear. Shout out to the Division II kid getting the bag. Next headline here. Let's go racing. NASCAR releasing their 2026 race schedule. And once again, Kansas Speedway has 2 dates on the 38 race schedule. It'll be April 19th and September 27th that the NASCAR Cup Series goes racing at Kansas Speedway. It is a familiar schedule in a lot of ways. Season will open with the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium February 1st. The first points race will be the Daytona 500 on February 15th. A new street course this year in San Diego. They will race in San Diego on June 21st on an Army base, I believe. Naval base. And Chicagoland Speedway returns to the schedule on July 5th. So 4th of July weekend, they're back at Chicagoland instead of doing the street race in Chicago. The All-Star race has been moved to Dover, Delaware. They'll race at Dover for the All-Star race on May 17th. And Miami will host the season finale Homestead on November 8th. The Chicago street race dropped in favor of adding Chicagoland. San Diego will replace Mexico City, which hosted a street race this year. Watkins Glen was moved to Mother's Day weekend from its traditional August date.
Somebody said there could be snow on the ground.
And the North Wilkesboro race, which was the All-Star race this year, will host a regular season points race this next year as well. So returning to North Wilkesboro for a points race after a long time away from that track. Anyway, that is a NASCAR note for you. And that's
Kansas is 3 weeks earlier than normal for the first race.
Okay. Yeah. No, April 19th.
Usually mid-May.
Okay. I did not have
that. Or at least it was this year.
I did not have that particular bit of insight, so thank you for that. That'll wrap up our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll come back with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, for a training camp report presented by Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union right after this on 580 WIBW. 526 on 580 Sports Talk, and we are thrilled to be joined once again at this time by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, for a training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and by Azura Credit Union, where you can contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Naseem Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Mitch, rookie week continues with Noel Williams, and if there is some good injury news, it is the hope that Williams being in concussion protocol is not something that will hopefully last long after he went into the protocol following Friday's preseason game against the Seahawks. And it was a shame that he went out, too, because there have been few players as impressive in the first two preseason games as the rookie out of Cal. He's been really something to watch those first two preseason games.
You always want to see if they can back it up. Like, he was excellent against Arizona, and he was equally so against Seattle. And give credit to Rick Burkholder, our vice president for performance and athletic training. He was the one that noticed that Noel was a little wobbly and got him off the field. It wasn't the observer from up top that's in every NFL game now. But the good news, you alluded to good news, is that Noel, they haven't ruled him out for playing Friday night. So he might be out there Friday night, but he's an interesting kid. Again, another ball hawk, much like Jaden Hicks. If you look at his college career, he had 3 seasons at UNLV and then his final year at Cal. Had 14 career interceptions. He had a pick 6 against, wait for it, Cam Ward, the number 1 pick in the draft this year. Had an 80-yard kickoff return. He had 4 scoop and scores. You get 1 in a career, you feel good, but to get 4 is crazy. What I like when I talk to him, his approach to camp was so mature, because usually we're looking for the easy way out. Not Noel Williams. He was looking at the opposite.
Putting yourself in uncomfortable situations so when the game comes, I can be ready for everything that's thrown at me and just keep learning from the vets, keep learning something new every day, and just keep pushing myself.
You know this from your college career, but fits are like the fit. Where do you go? Do I fit at this place? Mm-hmm. What about your fit as a corner in this defense? And I'm going to ask you about special teams after that.
Yeah. When they put me in, just be a physical presence, be, not having to worry about my side, knowing I got everything covered, just playing off everybody else good, being where I'm supposed to be. So that's how I plan to fit in, just making plays.
Special teams, awesome the other night. Yeah. What about playing gunner and being like a big-time gunner in this league?
Yeah, special teams is another way for me to prove to myself I can make plays on different phases, and special teams is, a big part of the game. That can be a momentum shifter any part of the game. So I'm always, I'm excited.
And the fact that this team has been looking for a consistent gunner for about 4 years now, 4 to 5 years. And if you can get a guy that can cover punts, he's part of your nickel dime. He can play, any scrimmage down, but then become just a solid, if not solid, really good gunner like he showed against Arizona when he decleated DJ Dallas. You're onto something here. This is another kid. When he said, I try to get myself in uncomfortable situations so that I can build, and that's what how he approached camp. And I just found that amazing. It's usually somebody coming out of a service academy, not this kid. But he's another one of this draft class that I really, really like and will help us win in Brazil.
You mentioned his ability as a ball hawk, and that is something that we also talked about in relation to Jaden Hicks when we spotlighted him. The last 3 years, I went and dug into the numbers on this. The Chiefs in the last 3 seasons have forced 20 turnovers, 17 turnovers, and 20 turnovers. So they've been around league average or slightly below in that department. And that's, some of that is a little bit of luck. Like sometimes the ball literally doesn't bounce your way and you don't recover your opponent's fumble. And that can be the kind of thing that levels out over time. But that's an element where it really feels like the Chiefs can add their ability to turn the other team over. We talked about it in the context of Jaden Hicks, and that was a reputation he had coming out of college. Is the addition of Noel Williams in a similar vein, the Chiefs looking at him as somebody who can bring what has been a bit of a missing element back to the defense?
If you want to do something fun, go back and look at the first 3 to 5 years of Andy Reid's tenure. and you'll see something vastly different. I'm pretty sure the Chiefs were 1 or 2 in the giveaway takeaway ratio at least 2 of those first 3 years. And the Chiefs have not been taking it away. I mean, that's just average. But it's also what you do with the takeaways. Do you create field position? Do you score defensively? And so we have seen it when you get a pick six, or last year's Cincinnati game when Shamari Connor gets the scoop and score, and he's right there. That's awareness. Now, in defense, you don't. It's like basketball. You can't play for the steal. It's unsound. But I'll get the steal within my scheme and within my ability. And so you don't chase home runs. You just try to hit line drives. Well, for the Chiefs, to be aware of the football, and that's what Noel Williams and Jaden Hicks are, then you're going to get some that you don't, aren't always forcing it out, because they're just aware of where the football's at and where it's going. It's a kind of a sixth sense. But you get 4 scoop and scores in college, that gets your attention. And that just tells you Noel Williams can force them, and he can pick them up and run with them.
We were discussing earlier on the show today, as we're talking to Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, for this training camp report presented by Hy-Vee.
And by the way, people talk about Denver and their season last year, and I get it, but check how many takeaways they got, and you'll get a little additional discussion with this.
Absolutely. Mitch Holthus is our guest, the voice of the Chiefs, presented by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. And we were discussing earlier on the show the position at which you feel the best about the Chiefs' depth. And I think before Friday night, I would have unreservedly said defensive back. Unfortunately, the injury bug has bitten a little bit. Deion Bush has already been lost for the season. Mike Edwards had the hamstring, Najee Johnson the shoulder, Noel Williams himself into the concussion protocol. So some dings and dents in that defensive backfield. But assuming health for those three, and we can certainly hope that that they will be healthy, even though in particular Johnson and Edwards are going to be held out of Friday night's preseason finale. Assuming health, is this maybe as deep as that defensive backfield has been? Guys and trusted guy in keep it to Steve Spagnuolo's. And we've talked about it. There are guys fighting to make this team that are established NFL and established Chiefs.
Yeah, if the injuries wouldn't have hit us so hard, I would agree with you. Now I'm just kind of wait and see. Can Christian Fulton get on the field and play? I hope he can Friday night. We got to get him out there before he goes up against his old team on September the 5th, because that allows, we've talked about this before, it allows McDuffie to go to the slot. And then, but there is potential for what you're saying. I still have to see more from that group. If I'm looking at really good depth on this team, there's a whole lot of confidence in him winning a game as a backup. Tight end, Robert Tonyan, is the best third tight end the Chiefs have had. Love the Bulldozer, love him. But Tonyan is just a notch higher than the Bulldozer as far as skill. And so those are areas where I feel really good about the depth, even defensive end, even after Felix Anudike-Uzomah's injury. You've got 4 really quality players. There are 4 starting caliber players at defensive end, and Karlaftis and Gelati and Dana and Omenahu, that you've got 4 for 2 slots essentially, and they'll move around inside. But that's where I think the real depth is. DB, I'm with you, but I've got to see more.
Noel Williams is a player who does not necessarily strike me as somebody who is going to be particularly particularly flashy on that side of the ball. Some great cornerbacks have been very much that kind of player historically. Richard Sherman, Deion Sanders. There's an attitude that some of the all-time great cornerbacks have. The confidence in the cornerback group for this Chiefs team, and again, I think it's a really good cornerback room when all of these guys are healthy. It seems like more of a quiet confidence broadly. How does Noel Williams fit in with the group that includes McDuffie, an all-pro, and a steady vet like Fulton, and the guys who've been around and really grinded for their opportunities like Jalen Watson and Najee Johnson and Chris Roland Wallace? How does he fit? And what is the personality of that cornerback group?
Yeah, now we've moved Roland Wallace to safety, so we're really kind of classifying him in the safety group. But I think you're onto something. It's a very good observation that, and sometimes corners can be like receivers. You get the diva guy, and you're playing 10 on 11 because he's going to cover deep and wants to get interceptions, but he ain't going to tackle anybody. Or if they run a bubble screen his way, why don't you tackle him, and then I'll jump on the pile. You get those guys, Now you've seen less and less of those guys in the NFL. Of the elite guys, you're seeing like guys like Surtain of Denver, who is tough and he'll make tackles. Well, the Chiefs corners, since Spags came here in 2019, have had a steady. There's a common denominator there. They all tackle. I gave you McDuffie's tackle totals 3 weeks ago, and it's astonishing for a corner to have that many tackles. But he is so good at it, and he doesn't miss many. Same with Watson. Some of it's their background, what they've gone through. I think some of it is the vetting that has been done by Brett Veach and his staff when they look at corners, that they know, again, what's going to fit. I don't need a diva corner who can run a 4-2 and he's going to stand out there and, chirp. It's somebody who's going to play a tunnel screen, bubble screen. Oh, wait a minute, he's physical. They're going to come with us and the corner is going to make the tackle, not just kind of run away and hold up space so somebody else can do it. And so that's a strong characteristic. And honestly, Noel Williams fits right into that genre of those corners that the Chiefs have had now since 19.
Last question for you, Mitch. And I feel like every year we talk about a defensive back, which means every year we get to talk about just how good Dave Merritt is at his job and how fortunate the Chiefs have been to maintain him as their defensive backs coach over the years, because it is a position where the Chiefs have had a good deal of turnover. They've had some new faces come in. They haven't done, a lot of long-term or second contracts for cornerbacks. And we all expect that Trent McDuffie's going to buck that trend, certainly. But the ability to bring guys in, evaluate them, bring them into the system, and get good performances from a wide variety of different players, but also different kinds of players in that defensive backfield. It just is remarkable to me that Dave Merritt probably is the guy that, outside of Chiefs Kingdom, maybe the least known person who deserves the most credit on that coaching staff.
Football at the high levels, and NFL, the highest level, has subcultures. The defense of the Kansas City Chiefs has its own subculture led by Spags. But within that subculture, there are subgroups. And that subgroup of the DBs is superbly coached by Dave Merritt. I literally just saw him before I went on the air with you guys, literally. And his son's now in Nebraska after committing originally at Alabama. We were talking about all kinds of stuff, but I literally talked to him. And it's interesting you brought him up. But he coaches his subgroup like a head coach would coach an entire team. And it's not just being technique sound or learning the scheme. He does a very good job emotionally, mentally, psychologically of getting the most out of his guys. We're sitting here talking about guys with the right demeanor that you alluded to in the question prior to this. And a lot of that is Dave Merritt, because that's the way he approaches every day with his DBs. And if you're going to be, so diva corners are not going to live in Dave Merritt's room. They're just not. And not that he's like, some fire breather, but he gets it. But he also gets the human spirit. And he's got a bunch of different guys in that room that have come from all different circumstances. Most of them have overcome adversity when you study them one by one. And so Merritt gets that, and he gets the most out of those guys. So, yes. And then Matt House is back. He was a linebackers coach with us. Then he went to be LSU's defensive coordinator and then came back here. So he's helping coach the DBs. And that's good. So that's a very good subgroup within the defensive subculture, within an awesome culture for the entire team.
Our training camp reports with voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, are brought to us by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and by Azure Credit Union, where you can contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Naseem Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Mitch, will continue rookie week tomorrow. Who are we going to spotlight?
Well, I normally don't highlight a guy who's not going to play the next night, but I don't think it's super problematic with the tendonitis in Jalen Royals' knee, but he's a really interesting study and a big key to this season. And he's really kind of a bonus. So we'll jump into that tomorrow night. It'll be our final rookie visit, and then we'll do our recap of what we know and what we don't know about the 25 Chiefs. But tomorrow night, even though they won't play Friday, we're going to explore the really interesting story of Jalen Royals.
Absolutely. I loved the "Let's Go Royals" chants he was getting like at Kauffman Stadium at training camp. Look forward to that, Mitch. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
That is Mitch Holthus. We will step aside for a timeout. We'll come back and talk some Royals baseball. Get you set for the Royals and the Rangers coming up in just a little bit here on 580 WIBW. It has already been a day of good news for the Kansas City Royals. Dan and Spencer with you here on 580 Sports Talk. First, the Mariners got rolled in Philadelphia today on getaway day. Phillies put it on the M's 11-2. Oh, good outing for my guy Jesus Luzardo. Huge for my fantasy team. That was good news. Then, even better news. The Guardians had a 2-1 lead going into the ninth inning in Arizona today and coughed that up. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. hit a game-tying home run in the ninth, and Adrian Del Castillo hit a walk-off single in the 10th. Arizona beating Cleveland. So there's a chance tonight for the Kansas City Royals to get a game and a half clear of Cleveland, but also a game and a half closer or within a game and a half of Seattle for one of the wild card slots in the American League. That's if they can pull off a win tonight over the Rangers and finish off what would be a series win in game 3 of the 4-game set at the K tonight. I told you, Cleveland going to come back to the pack. I did not necessarily foresee the rest of the wild card field coming back to the pack so rapidly, but look, keep winning, everybody else keeps losing. This is what happens. And the Royals have been rolling. They're 7-1 on this current homestand, and they send Noah Cameron to the mound tonight. Cameron, we've talked about, and it continues to be a concern because you'd love to continue to stay off of your plus side relievers and not lean on them as heavily as you've had to in these recent games. But Noah Cameron's not really been a guy who's gone particularly deep into games. He has pitched into the 7th just once in his last 5 starts and has failed to complete 6 innings in 3 of his last 4 starts. But he has been really good at keeping the other team off the scoreboard. And the Royals tonight get a Texas bullpen game, and the Texas bullpen not particularly outstanding as we've seen the first couple of nights of this series. So that's the pitching matchup tonight. You have to feel really good about this one if you're the Royals, as Cameron looks to build on what is becoming a very solid Rookie of the Year argument. 7-5 on the year with a 2.47 earned run average, and he'll go over 100 innings pitched on the season tonight when he records his 5th out of the evening. He's at 98 1/3 innings pitched for the year. The lineup that will support Noah Cameron tonight: Mike Yastrzemski back in the leadoff spot in right field. Bobby Witt Jr., fresh off of his 100th career home run last night, will bat second at short. And then Vinny Pasquantino's at first. Michael Garcia will hit cleanup and play third base. Salvador Perez back in the lineup after a 2-game absence. He will catch and bat 5th. Adam Frazier's at second base batting 6th. Jonathan India will DH and bat 7th. Then it's John Rave in left field batting 8th. And Kyle Isbell batting 9th in center field. Caleb Boschley will start for the Rangers among the bullpen mix. The Royals saw him the other night. I think he pitched on Monday night. Yeah, he did. He pitched a scoreless inning with a pair of strikeouts on Monday night. He's been an up and down guy from AAA in the bigs this year. His appearance on August 18th was his first with the Rangers since July 29th. So truly been up and down, 20 appearances, 36 2/3 innings. So he stretched out. He could go more than just 1 inning. Maybe goes 2 or 3, but Royals will try and jump on him before that. The lineup for the Rangers tonight: Wyatt Langford will lead off in left field. Kyle Seager will bat second at short. And then a whole passel of right-handers against the lefty Cameron. Marcus Semien bats third at second base. Kyle Higashioka gets the start at catcher tonight, batting cleanup. Josh Young is the third baseman. Ezekiel Duran is at first, batting 6th. 4 straight right-handed bats in the middle of the order. Then switch hitter Jonah Heim is the DH. Cody Freeman in right field. Evan Carter, the left-handed hitting center fielder, will bat 9th. Royals keep it rolling tonight, Spence?
Yes, I think they do. I've been very intrigued at the ball flying out of Kauffman Stadium lately.
Wild, isn't it?
And
ball's just carrying.
It's still hot today. We're getting a cold front coming in here in the next couple days, so I don't know if that's going to do anything, but it's still hot. So Royals are going to stay hot. Noah Cameron stays hot, and maybe we get him into the 7th inning.
I want to talk about Vinny Pasquantino for a second. just a stray thought while I have a moment. Vinny hit his 24th home run of the season last night. I'm so used to going to Baseball Reference. Baseball Reference had an error last night. They couldn't get their the stats from last night's games updated, so they won't have an update until tomorrow, and that's really screwing me up because I go there for everything. I spend like an hour a day on Baseball Reference, probably between show prep and like just scrolling it during the show for stuff while we're talking Royals. It is really throwing me that their stats are off. Anyway, Vinny on the year's average is just 259, and his on-base percentage is 320. But he's got the 24 home runs that are career high. He's been hot hitting 333 with 4 home runs in his last 7 games. Career high in home runs. He's got an outside shot at driving in 100 runs, which, of course, last year he was going to do. And then he got hurt late August. He was at 97 RBI at the end of August. Vinny is the kind of player that we used to talk about in a very different way. We talk about baseball differently than we did 30, 40 years ago. It's Bill James's fault. But you know, Moneyball, Baseball Prospectus, all the what we jokingly call nerd numbers around here. We talk about baseball differently. And one of the ways that we talk about it differently because we understand it differently. And we understand it differently because we have the numbers to help contextualize things. And one thing that we understand differently than we used to is that there's no such thing as the RBI man. That RBIs are a function of where you bat in the order and how often you get chances to drive runners in. But like back in the 80s, you had guys. Joe Carter was the best example of this. Former Wichita State Shocker, played for the Cubs, played for Cleveland, played for famously the Blue Jays, hit the home run, 93 World Series. He was an RBI man because he'd drive in 100 runs every year in the middle of the batting order. Now, he made a lot of outs. He didn't always hit for the highest average, but he would drive in 100 runs like clockwork. And we used to think that meant something specific about Joe Carter. He was an RBI man. And now we just know, well, it was where he's batting in the order. And there were guys in front of him in the order on those teams that were good enough to get on base enough for him to drive them in. So we don't talk about the RBI man anymore, the way we used to in like the 80s before I was alive and I was talking baseball. We talk about it differently. We understand it differently now. But Vinny, to me, has become, over the last 2 years, like a classic RBI man. Like, if there's a run to be driven in, he's going to drive it in. And I think some of his evolution as a hitter has come at the expense of the kind of hitter it looked like he was going to be as a rookie. Remember, in his first 72 games in 2022, Vinny hit 295 with a 383 on base, and he walked more than he struck out. He's not that hitter anymore. Like, that guy, that version of Vinny Pasquantino doesn't exist. But he bats third in this Royals order behind Bobby Witt Jr., and he knows his job is going to be, I got to get Bobby in from second, or I got to get the leadoff man in from third because Bobby moved him over with a hit. I've got to get the run in. And Vinny does that now. And I think that the kind of hitter that he is has come at the expense of some of his patience, and adding power has come at the expense of strikeouts. He's still a productive hitter. He's just a different kind of productive hitter than I expected he was going to be in his career. And he's kind of become that RBI man that we used to talk about. And we know doesn't really exist in the way that we used to think it did, but there's still a place, there's still a value in, oh, that guy's on third, I'm going to get him in. That's Vinny. And that's the kind of hitter he's become, which is really fascinating because that's not the kind of hitter I thought he was going to be, but it's productive all the same. We'll take a break, come back, wrap up the show with a final word. Final word time on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, lay it on me.
Yeah, Royals continuing to be hot, talking about the home runs just before the break, and I think it's crazy for the Royals that they've been coming in like bunches, right? Like the last few days, there's been just bunches of home runs. I think 3 in back-to-back games, if I'm not mistaken, and one of those, Bobby Witt Jr., youngest player to hit 100 career homers, and it's just crazy for as much as attention that Bobby gets. He might not be the best on the team in homers when it comes to the numbers, but what he's been able to do so far in his career is just amazing. And I'm glad I'm able to witness it here on the media side as somebody that maybe would not have been too into it if I wasn't here in Kansas. But I mean, just at the age he is, he's already got 100. Let's see where he can go from here on out.
Final word for me, it's not just impressive that the Royals have discovered their power stroke here in these summer months. It certainly is, but the Royals pitching staff has avoided studiously giving up the long ball. If you're thinking that something is in the air at Kauffman Stadium, maybe you're right. If you're thinking that maybe they've swapped out some of the baseballs for the 2019 Titleist Pro V1s they were using that led to all the record-breaking power that year. Hunter Dozier had 27 home runs in 2019. Come on, that was fake. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe they're using a different baseball. I don't know, but I do know this. The Royals have seen a power increase at home, but their opponents have not. The Royals have actually seen a power increase no matter where they've been playing. Their opponents have not, because Royals pitchers have allowed just 1 home run per 9 innings since the All-Star break, while the Royals as a team are in the top 6 in Major League Baseball in home runs hit. That's how you win baseball games. Out-homer your opponent. You can find a way to outwalk them and strike out less, then you're probably really close to winning a lot of games. But give credit to these Royals pitchers as well for keeping the ball in the yard, just as important. The Royals are next. We're back tomorrow following Royals Day baseball until 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.